Okay, it says I'm using the computer audio. I'm going to share my main screen. Now, what should you do? Well, someone's on it already. In Canvas, remember, on our main home screen, down at the bottom, I have our Zoom URL. You can go to that window and click on that URL to open up this Zoom session, or you can right-click on it, copy that link address, and then you could make it a shortcut if you wanted to on your desktop. So let me show you how. It's not essential to programming that you know how, but it'll make it easier to find that Zoom URL. I'm going to minimize everything so I can see my desktop, and I'm going to right-click. Now, if the world was good and the network staff wasn't security Nazis, we would be able to paste that as a shortcut, and it would be just that simple, and we wouldn't have to do anything else, right? But being that the world is not all good and they are security Nazis, we can't do that. So instead, we're going to have to create a new shortcut. And I'm going to Control V to paste in that URL. Now I've got my Zoom URL pasted in there. And of course you could type it in if you wanted to. It's just my office phone number, 417-447-8150. So it'll stay the same. Now, once you've got that pasted in as your location, click Next. And you can just name it Zoom Session. Because it's not really Zoom, it's our Zoom session. So, and then finish it. And now you should have a shortcut to our Zoom session for each, whenever we run it. Okay, so can you see it? Let me see if everybody can see it. Let me change my screen here so there's something for you to see. I'm going to bring up Notepad++. Okay. Can you see it? Okay. Now, if it's complaining to you about the computer audio, choose the phone call option and then just click Done, because you can trick it into thinking that you called, since we don't have any audio devices. Working? Great. Oh, everybody's got it. Looks good. Now, what you can do, again, if there's an empty computer beside you, you could log into that computer and bring up the Zoom session on that one. So that's what a lot of people like to do, because then they have the full screen Zoom session right beside. But if there isn't an empty computer, you can take that Zoom session, and of course, let's see if I have multiple things open. I can use my handy dandy snap to edge capability in Windows. I can grab a title bar, whoops, not the Zoom one, and pop it over to the side to snap it to that edge. And I can do the same thing then with this one. I have to move it and do weird things because I've got the dual monitors. So I can drag and snap to split my screen in half, or I can just simply use the Windows key and the left and right arrows to split my screen in half. So you can have the Zoom session with me typing beside you, or however you want to arrange it. Now, why do I want to use Notepad++ for pseudocode? Well, like we said, pseudocode isn't really a programming language. So Notepad++ doesn't really care. It'll keep track of things for us and give us repeating of characters. Like once we've typed something, It'll prompt us if it sees that again, recognizes it again, so that we don't have to retype things. So it's kind of a helpful utility, even though it's not going to really be coding. Now, when you're looking at your Zoom session, you guys can always bring up a chat. So if you want to say hi, you can. If you want to share some files or something, like somebody beside you is getting behind and you just want to copy and paste something and send it to them, you can. So all those kinds of great things. You can also, of course, annotate. We can do some remote controlling, so we'll try to not put anybody up on the screen and do terrible things to them, but we could. All right, so I'm going to try to move this out of the way, and it won't let me move, you silly thing. There we go. So here I have my Notepad++ window open, and what I want to do is enter in this pseudocode that we want to create. Well, I guess before I get started, I will follow good programming practices and save my file. Right? I haven't typed anything in it yet, but I'd like to save it so that I can allow the system to autosave for me. So I'm going to choose File, Save As, and I want to save this in a good spot. Now, where do you guys want to save things?
The S drive.
The S drive is fine. Your H drive is also your own personal stuff. Now, a little bit of a difference. The S drive gets erased every semester. So in between semesters, everything gets wiped out. Your H drive will stay with you as long as you're a student at OTC. I'm not going to ask to look at things on the S drive. So I'm going to always ask you to turn things into Canvas if I'm going to look at it. So to me, you can save it in any of those places that's safe. Now, you might also want to use a flash drive. You can copy all of your stuff to a flash drive if you want to save it. Another option that you have is using Microsoft Office.com stuff. If you want to use OneDrive or one of those kinds of file, cloud-based storage media so that you can get to the information from home. So however you want to save your stuff is fine. Just remember that you want to put it in a place where you can get to it when you want to, and it's going to be safe. So as long as you don't put it on the C drive of these local machines, we're good. So I'm going to go to my H drive because I don't like to lose stuff at the end of the semester. And I have a CIS120 folder. And then I'm going to create a new one, a new folder for spring of 19. And I'm going to put this file in my new folder. Now, I want to name this something that's meaningful. It can be kind of hard for us because we have some kind of random different programs that we're going to save. So I'm going to try W1 for week 1 because I want it to be short, right? Some kind of short thing. And this is going to be our week 1 music pseudocode. So I think I'm just going to save it like that. W1 music pseudo. Now I'm going to leave it as a text file. That's fine because this is just pseudocode, so I can save it that way. Now the first thing I want in any file are some comments. So I'm going to put a / at the top, which usually in most programming languages indicates a single line comment. Now we could put some cool decoration around our comment if we wanted to. We could make it a flower box and get real fancy with it. So I'm going to say, here's our program. It is our music purchase pseudocode. And I'm going to put some information in these comments that might not be required by a company, or it might be, depending on the company. But it's definitely required by our classroom, right? And that's because a lot of this early stuff that we do is going to look exactly the same. And if you don't put your name in it up here in the comments as the developer, your stuff is going to look just like the person besides you stuff. So bless you. We want everybody's name in here. So where I put my name, you put yours. And we could put something like from Prelude to Programming. Because we didn't create this pseudocode, we're getting it from our textbook. Now I'm going to add a date. And a date in Commons is usually the date that work on the program began. So sometimes that can be months and months ago, and you're still working on it, but that's okay because we want to know when it began. So we'll say ours was today. And our purpose is to design a program to price a music purchase. Now I'm going to finish my flower box. And I could get real fancy with this. Some people like to make sure all their spacing is exactly perfect and end their slashes. Drives me crazy because every time you change a space or anything, it's all messed up. So I've heard from other students, we used to have an instructor that would give you a 0 if your flower box wasn't perfect. I won't do that, but I will count off some points if you don't have comments. We want to make them pretty. I just wanted you to know that this is the ultimate way of doing it. And some companies I've worked for have actually asked for things like this, for comments anytime we change a program. Some didn't, but you always want to do whatever they're asking you to do because that's your job, right? So even if you think it's silly, sometimes we got to do. Now, in our program, the first thing that we're going to do is declare our variables. So because I've got this // here on this line, this is going to be a comment, right? It's not going to be executed by the computer. And this is all pseudocode, so none of it's going to be executed by the computer anyways. But it's going to be a template for us for the code that will be. So we want to try to get it as close as we can. So in our book, they really like this word declare. They want us to use that keyword anytime we're saying here is a new variable. So I want to declare songs as integer. So we're saying that whatever gets put into this variable songs to be saved has to be numeric. And then I'm also going to declare $price as float. We'll talk a little bit more about this next time, but here we're saying $price is a variable that can handle numbers that have decimal places. It's a float. So it's not just a dumb integer. It can handle a little bit more. Now next, we're going to prompt our user for input. So if we were looking at a website or a graphical interface, we would see this prompt as some sort of label on a form or on a web page or something like that. But when we first start programming, we're using that as a character-based prompt because we're just going to be using character-based programming right now as we get started. So we're going to prompt our user for input. And our text has said for our pseudocode, we're going to use the statement write to do that. And that just says, I want to write whatever string is given out to the console so that the user can respond to it. So what we're going to write is this nice message, enter the number of songs you wish to purchase. So some things about this prompt. First of all, it's a string, so that's why it's enclosed in double quotes. Since this is pseudocode, we could do it some other way. You know, there might be some, we might say, all of the prompts are going to be purple, and we could make all of those color-coded purple or something. That could be our pseudocode mechanism that we're going to use to communicate with our users. But we want the pseudocode to be something that is so basic that someone who doesn't know how to program could look at it and get an idea of what's going on here. So we're kind of saying, I want to take this algorithm, this idea of how I could solve this problem, and I want to put it in such a simple form that other people can agree with me about it. Now our string, if you notice, has a space here at the end. We put that space in before the double quote to show that when our prompt is displayed, our user isn't going to type squished right up against it. There's going to be a space there before they type, so it'll look nice. All right, so there's our prompt. Next, we're going to read the data the user supplies. So again, if we were working with a website, we might be looking at some sort of text box or some sort of graphical piece of data from the user. But for us, we're reading from the console, so we're going to use this command input. And we want to take whatever the user typed, whatever we see as input, and put it into our variable songs to save it. Getting them all set. All right, they got this. Okay, so notice, while he's getting all situated here, notice how Notepad++ prompted me down here when I started typing songs. It was like, oh, you've typed this word before. Do you want me to just autofill it for you? So I could have pressed Enter or Tab, and Notepad++ would automatically fill in the rest of that variable name for me. So it's pretty helpful when you're typing things. All right, so now we read in that data. What do we want to do next? We want to process our data. We're going to do our calculation. I can't spell. And we're going to put the answer into dollar price. So our textbook, again, for their pseudocode, they like this keyword set. They want to remind you or have you tell the user, this statement, this line, this code is going to change the value of the dollar price variable. So whatever was in it before is going to be changed, and now it's going to be equal to 99 cents times our number of songs. So just like I was using a programmable calculator, and I wanted to create some sort of variable that was my answer, I could create that as a variable in my calculator and then do some sort of calculation to update that variable. That's exactly what I'm doing here in my pseudocode, is setting that variable and then updating it. So now our dollar price contains the value of how much the songs are going to cost. If they said they want 47 of them, then we're going to have the value 47 times 0.99 contained in our dollar price variable. So that little storage spot is now going to contain that new value. So the last thing we need to do is our output. Output our answer. And in our output, we're going to include a nice piece of information for the user, some labeling, so that the answer is meaningful, right? Because if we just plop that answer out to them, the program's going to work, right? But it's not going to be a very meaningful answer. It's not going to really tell the user exactly what this answer is. So it's kind of like that math teacher in 3rd or 4th grade that said, no, you didn't label it as LBS for pound, so you don't get any credit. If we don't label our output, the user doesn't know for sure what we're giving them. So a couple of things with our output. We use the write statement again because we want to send something to the screen. So just the same as if we're prompting our user, we're going to use that same write statement. Put something out there. And we want to write out first a string that says the price of your purchase is space. And then we want to add more to that. We want to add our dollar price. Plus, after that, we want to add the word dollars. So they decided instead of putting a dollar sign in front of this price, they would label it by putting the word dollars after it. So we can do that. We'll just add more. We'll concatenate more. And we'll say, well, we want to add the word dollars. Notice I put a space before the word dollars this time because I want this dollar price to not be squished up to this string, and I want this string to not be squished up to it. Sorry, I'm scared I'm going to touch it. It's going to go crazy. I'll get used to it. So that's going to be our output. So whenever we use these plus signs, when we're adding strings, that's concatenation. And you guys got that one, right? So I know you know it, but let's put it in our comments. Uses concatenation, which is adding strings. Look at Notepad++ trying to make my parentheses all color-coded for me. Isn't that nice? It'll be very helpful for us. Now for this pseudocode, we don't need to turn it in or anything. We're going to keep this, like I said, and we'll update it later in further chapters to make it better. But you can't run it. There isn't any way for you to make sure that you didn't make a typo or something. If you turned it in, I could look at it real close and say, oh, this might be a problem. So this is a little different than our actual programming language. When we get to our actual Python stuff, Python will say, I don't understand what you're doing here. And we'll know there was a typo or some sort of error in our coding. But for this one, when we're just getting started, our pseudocode is just for information. And now I could take this to a user and sit down with them and say, is this right? Does this seem like the right algorithm for this program? You want me to prompt the user, enter the number of songs you wish to purchase. Now that little prompt, they could have 75 meetings about that to decide that's exactly what they want it to say. So we have to be real careful. And that's why we like things like pseudocode to verify with our users that everything is correct. Is this what you were thinking? This is what I was thinking you were thinking. Is this what you were thinking? Because sometimes we are all thinking the same thing. Okay, let's save it. Any questions about it? Seem perfectly clear? Easy peasy? Let me know if it's totally confusing, because both are possible. All right, let's close it. So for today, we have this assignment that I'd gotten to. I'm going to go back to our module section. Week 2. Now, since we're done with week 1, you can click that collapse button and kind of collapse it down out of your way in Canvas. So we do use our modules link a lot. The assignment that I want to look at is create with Scratch. Let's take a look at that. Here at OTC, we're kind of mean to you. We just throw you guys into programming. We want you making a ton of money after like 2 years. So there's some semesters that are pretty challenging for sure. But in a lot of other universities, they want to like make things super easy. This tool was actually not designed for universities. It was designed for kids, for early programmers, because that video you guys watched last week, you did watch that video, right, about why you want to code, Will I Am, and all that. Okay, good, make sure. But that they created this Scratch programming language, or they kind of encourage you, so I don't know that they actually created it. It's created by MIT now, or maintained, and they do use it at MIT in some of their early programming languages. Scratch is a blocky code type programming language. Let's go to the website and check it out. Click on this link, scratch.mit.edu. And here is Scratch. Now, we can look at About Scratch. Let's do that. This screen says you can program your own interactive stories, games, and animations and share with others in the online community. What Scratch is it's a tool that uses blocky code. So let's go ahead and join. Click on Join Scratch. Create a username and your password. Now notice it says don't use your real name. Use some sort of screen name or something that you want. You don't really have to give them very much information for Scratch, but do remember what your password is, because you'll probably need to log in a few times to get this all done. Now, as you click next, let me know if it does something bad, because I created my account a while ago, and you know how they can change those things. So I'm just going to sign in and hope that you're all doing good. I got logged on. It's like a miracle. So you'll see here, they say Scratch is designed for 8 to 16. So it's a little young for some of you guys, but it's kind of a really good way for us to think about programming constructs. Now, I want you to make sure that you're logged in, that your username is showing up here in the drop down so that we can get things saved right, or else it won't let you do that properly. Now, if you've got logged in and everything looks good, let's click on the Create link. I'm not a Scratch expert by any means, but what we have here is, on this side, we have some different types of actions, and then some different things that we can do based on those actions, some events, and we have costumes and sounds. Here in the middle is kind of our area where the program is going to run, where we're going to see what happens. Over here is Scratch, where we can see him in debugging mode. And then down here in this last little window are the sprites that I've added to my video or to my game or whatever, and anything like that. So let's say that I want to make Scratch move. Well, right up here at the top, I see I could make it move 10 steps. I'll drag that over into my programming area. Now, is it going to do anything? To run it, I'm going to click this green flag and see if he does anything. No. So I need him to do that when I click this green flag. So that's probably an event. I'm going to look at the events. And sure enough, there's my when green flag clicked. So I'm going to drag that in and let it snap that block to the other block. And now when I click that green flag, Scratch should move 10 steps, which if you notice isn't very much. So if I want him to move more, I could click there in that move command and change it. I'll make it be 50 steps. And now I can run it again. And he goes a little further. Okay, so let's say after he moves those 50 steps, I want him to turn. I'm going to go back to my motion. And let's say I want him to, I don't know, I want him to turn 15 degrees. I think I want him to turn 90 degrees. I'll change that. Let's try it. So he sort of flipped around a little bit. Now I could change this to be 180, or I could tell him to turn 90 degrees again. Depends on my programming language, right? Sometimes I have to repeat code. Sometimes I can change it. I'll try it that way. Does he go in a full circle? Sort of. I don't know. I need him to reset back to where he was. Let's see. I guess maybe if I go to the events and put something in for the end. He just doesn't want to go back to his original position. So I'll just keep him like that and fight with him too much. So when I run it, he's moving 50 steps and then doing some sort of weird flippy thing. What I like to do is make him keep doing that so that he could be super annoying to others. So I'm going to go to, let's look at control, see what kind of things I have in control. Sure enough, there's a repeat. So I'm going to grab this repeat block. Notice how it implies that it has blocks inside of it, because it's like, what blocks do you want to repeat? Well, I want to repeat all of them. So I'm going to drag this out and try to snap it around all of those actions. So now when I click the green flag, I'm going to repeat 10 times this moving 50 steps and turning and turning, right? So I just put a loop in there. So let's try it. I can run it. Oh, yeah, he's super annoying, just like I was hoping. Now, could I add some sound? That would be annoying. Let's try it. I'm going to go to sound. I think I'll put, I like this one that says stop all sounds. I think I'm going to put that at the bottom because you just never know, right? And then I'm going to put, oh, someone found it. I'm going to put a sound to start inside here. We've got the meow. Oh, it's super annoying. But I bet we can find some, oh, you'd have to record them. Shoot, do they have any other options? Let's check. No. So we'd have to find some things. I bet at home we can find some sounds to download or something. But now I've got way off on this, so I have to click on this tab to go back to my code. Okay, there it is. So I'll just leave the annoying meow sound. Let's try it. Because I repeated it 10 times, right? I kept making a meow. That's why it's super annoying. Now, I could make it stop, right? If I stopped that sound, ooh, I need some timing there. I need, I want to wait. After that first meow, I'm going to wait a few seconds. So now you can just hear that individual annoying meow. Oh, geez. I don't know. I think I liked it better without it waiting. I hear a lot of meowing going on. Now, how can we change our backgrounds? Let's see, somewhere. Let's look at costumes. They keep changing things. Here's costumes. Do we have a... We looked at our sounds. Looks, no. There's a lot in our looks section about the costumes though. Ah, there it is. They've moved things on me. Over here in this very bottom corner, notice this stage. Ooh, shocking. Right now, the backdrop that I have is just white. So we could change that. Let's change it. So I'd like to try a different stage. I'm going to come down here and click on this icon that lets me choose a backdrop. And I could either upload or oh, surprise me, sure. Okay, that's not very surprising. I could go to Paint if I wanted to make my own. I could also choose a backdrop. Let's try that. I don't like that one they surprised me with, so I'll try. Oh, this is cute, this colorful city. Now if I go back to my code, I should still be able to run it. It's like it's disappeared. Come on. Where'd you go? Now, why can't I see my code? Because I'm not scrolled to the right place. So I would have to keep looking for it. Stop! Okay, you finally stopped. All right, so you get the idea with Scratch. You can have some fun with it. Now, remember, you could also waste a lot of your life. Don't do that. I just want you to create something, you know, kind of thinking about code, thinking about looping, thinking about if statements. The best things are going to be like if you could create something that actually had some clicking, you know, so that if somebody clicked on your character, it jumped off someplace else or did some sort of response to that event. That's kind of the hardest thing that you could do. Now, what if you need more help? I didn't really help you a lot. I just showed you a few things. Well, you can click on tutorials up here, and you can find all sorts of different tutorials about different things, like using the arrow keys and doing some animation and showing and hiding things and whatever you'd like to do. I'm going to go back. Annoying me out. Okay, let's save them so that you were ready to turn it in. I don't want you to turn this one in. I want you to turn in a good one. But let's save it. Now, if you don't save it, it's not going to get saved. So you have to click Save Now. And my project was saved. What was it saved as? This great name, Untitled 6. That's always helpful, right? So maybe I might want to give it a better name. SP19 Scratch. And let me save it now. Now, I want you guys to be able to see it. So right now, if I have it saved, that's great, but I still have to share it for you to be able to see it. So after you save it, you need to click Share. Now, on your Share button, you have some different options. You can update some comments about it, turn off commenting so other people can't comment about it, but we all want to comment on anything. But anyways, you can put in comments or whatever you want to do, and then you want to copy your link. So it's going to give you a URL, just a link address to get back to your Scratch project. Now, one thing to notice, up here at the top in the URL, notice that it's looking at my Scratch project. Sometimes I've seen people turn in a URL that says something about edit. And that doesn't work right. We need for the URL to be your Scratch project. So as long as you're on this screen, it should be okay. You click Copy URL. So once your beautiful work of Scratch art is done, copy that URL, go to Canvas to our assignment, and it's a discussion. So you're going to click Reply and say something like, here is my annoying, oh, my awesome Scratch project, and then I'm going to paste that URL. Now, once I post this reply, everyone else in the class is going to be able to see it because it's a discussion board. So after people start posting their Scratch projects, I want you guys to come out here and look at them and kind of be reviewing them and saying, whoa, this is an awesome work of art, you're an amazing programmer, or shape up, or so you guys can get them. Questions? So this isn't due until a week from today. You have some time, don't waste your life, but have fun with it because it really is fun. So we just have about 25 minutes left today for you to work on this in your lab time, or you can get out of here if you'd rather work on it at home. If you have any questions or anything, you're welcome to stay and let me know. Next time we'll be talking about data conversions and binary to decimal. So we will have some time to work on your Scratch project next time too. So we will have some more class time. Any questions before we close for lab time? You good? All right. Thanks. Great. So nice to meet you guys finally. I'm going to close our Zoom session. And when I close our Zoom sessions, I will try to record them